Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice is back to the forefront of hearts and minds of women all over the country, and I find this bipartisan love of this character to be, well, ironic.
Goodness, you must comprehend a great deal in the idea.
I do.
The women in 2025 have suddenly let down their walled-off hearts for the infallible Mr. Darcy. Interesting indeed. The iconic 2005 film adaptation of Pride and Prejudice was just released in theaters for a limited run, showing it for their 20th anniversary celebration, and the undying love for Jane Austen's work, and specifically for Mr. Darcy, remains unchanged all these years later. In fact, I would argue that the fervor and adoration of the Mr. Darcy archetype has even increased in recent years. On X, someone had posted and said, "Do women have a Roman Empire?" And then Woman Explainer responded and said, "Yeah, it's Pride and Prejudice."
Yes.
Someone else said, "Watch Pride and Prejudice for the first time and my life has changed." It is a pivotal movie, I do feel, for everyone the first time you watch it. I would recommend, too, if you have not watched it, you should go watch it before hearing what I'm about to say, because it really only makes sense if you know the characters. But nonetheless, even for many of us who have watched this movie many, many times, we all still came out to watch this movie in theaters, and the theaters were absolutely packed. Diana and I went last weekend to see it, and it was the second to last day or the last day of this limited release. Packed theater. Every showing, frankly, was packed. I had to strategically get one that still had open seats, which never happens at the movies anymore. But to really set the scene for this Pride and Prejudice episode, I'm in a dress, of course, but I wanted to set the scene further by bringing in this beautiful candle. Honestly, it really is the vibes. I'm obsessed with this candle, frankly. I have like 2 of them just sitting around different places of my house. This is actually my very first candle with the Candle Club. I absolutely adore it. I asked Jill, who is the wonderful, beautiful woman who is designing these candles, who pours them, who makes all of this, and I asked her for one that was a certain aesthetic, a certain kind of like old vintage charm, brass specifically, because I love brass. It's in my house everywhere. And so she found this beautiful one. It has cool little details. It's so cute. And then once the candle is gone, you have this cute little brass fixture to keep in your house. So if you want to check out my candle that is called the Golden Sunshine, which it's so cute, you can go to thecandleclub.com/reagan and find it and set the mood for watching Pride and Prejudice. As I was saying, the movie theater was absolutely packed. Unlike the last time that we were at the theater doing reconnaissance for an upcoming episode, which was Snow White. That theater was empty, but this one was full of women, young and old, brimming with as much excitement as the premiere of some huge new movie. Even though, again, we've all seen it many, many times before.
Gosh, here we go again.
And it was obvious, by the way, that everyone knew when their favorite scenes were coming, and then they acted like this once those scenes arrived. The scene seen round the world.
Darcy?
Miss Elizabeth?
Ooh. I laugh every time because when we were literally in the theater, I mean, right? Everyone was giggling. Multiple, like I'm giggling watching. See, girls get giddy over the craziest things. A hand flex. There's nothing overtly, not even subtly, even sexual in this film. And it's just like a hand reaction. It's like, oh, so pure sometimes. It was just really peak girlhood, and everyone was giggling. It made the whole experience 10 times more fun. This is another moment that people just loved. Now, there wasn't so much of a giggle during this scene, but this is the iconic scene that he walks up to Elizabeth and confesses his love for her, okay? So the whole theater was just like, waiting for the moment. Now, what I liked about this particular TikTok, though, was the comments. Someone said, "To date someone who puts their pride aside so that they could experience and understand you is memorizing even by proxy. That's how low our standards are. Basic empathy is cathartic in love."
My main takeaway in seeing these comments and seeing these girls react to this, in the beginning of the movie, Mr. Darcy basically says she's unattractive.
Yeah, he's a jerk to her at first.
None of these girls, if any man were to say to any of these girls, essentially, you are unattractive.
Yeah, you are not tolerable.
Ever look past that?
But her sister Elizabeth is very agreeable.
Perfectly tolerable, I dare say. Not handsome enough to tempt me.
Bitch, is you blind?
See, I didn't even unpack the forgiveness element of this, but women, there is a huge element of forgiveness with this. The first impressions did not go well, and ultimately, they were able to get past that. She was able to understand his character. I mean, yeah, that's a whole other arc that no one wants to address.
It's like, you know, that trend that's like, oh, my husband would never talk to me like this.
yeah.
These girls have this fantasy of who their perfect partner is.
Yeah, Mr. Darcy was not the fantasy at first. He was a jerk.
And they would have been like, oh, my husband would never talk to me like
Yeah.
that next. And
Yeah.
here they all are acting like they wouldn't act like that.
Yep, like he is just perfect, the love of their life, and they definitely would have noticed right away. One other girl said, a man won't even walk to your house at dawn through the mist anymore. Now, I want to kind of dive into all the women who were very sad in these comments, being like, well, men aren't like this anymore. This is so sad. You know, that's why they love this movie so much. And most of my thoughts in this remaining part of the episode are going to be directed toward the ladies watching this. But before I get into that, I just want to say a few tips for men. Being direct and saying things to women like, you have bewitched me, mind, body, and soul. That a woman will woo over that, okay? Or saying something like, I love you most ardently. I mean, poetic. It's beautiful. And lastly, and again, this is the most important quick takeaway for men, eye contact. Heavy on the eye contact does wonders for women. That was just my quick little dating advice for men. Honestly, go watch Pride and Prejudice. You'd probably learn something.
What excellent boiled potatoes. Many years since I've had such an exemplary vegetable.
The absolute love modern women have for Mr. Darcy is such an interesting phenomenon, given the fact that they are repulsed by many of the facets of the late 1700s and early 1800s society where he would have existed in. So why has Mr. Darcy carried on all these years later? For starters, Pride and Prejudice as a whole embodies characteristics in the art of dating and pursuit that many have concluded are simply lost today. One girl said, leaving the theater after watching Pride and Prejudice, knowing I have to go back to situationships and talking stages. Which, I'm going to argue here, you don't. You don't have to, okay? In that society in London, men pursued women quickly and married them very quickly. A sharp contrast to today. It's ironic because we're supposed to be simultaneously celebrating our sexual liberation while hopelessly romanticizing a world like Pride and Prejudice, where even for this movie or the book, not a single sexual moment was implied or seen on screen. Darcy's pursuit of her was simply in his words and his actions. He ultimately won her affections, asked her father for her hand in marriage, and that was the end. But today, dating and courtship has evolved, or devolved, I would say. And we as women have completely allowed it to. Now, I was really trying to, again, understand this phenomenon. And so I did some research about feminists and their undying desire for a Mr. Darcy. And I came across this article from Evie Magazine. It is written by an honest, self-aware, and self-proclaimed feminist faced with the brutally honest ChatGPT version of Mr. Darcy. And sadly, I will not be reading this whole thing, obviously, but I will link it below because this is such a good read. Well done, Evie. Well done, anonymous author who wrote this. I use AI to bring Mr. Darcy to life to solve my dating woes. After years of dating in New York City, I feel pretty hopeless. So after watching Pride and Prejudice one night, she sat conflicted by her poor luck with men, wondering why she can't find the right one. One that is both masculine, but also not threatened by her bold personality, etc. So wishing that she could go back in time and ask Mr. Darcy herself for some dating advice, she decided to do the next best thing and tell ChatGPT to filter its advice through the lens of Mr. Darcy. And this is a rare time where I witnessed a ChatGPT win that was successfully breaking down barriers and having conversation starters that seemed to otherwise be completely taboo to discuss in 2025. Except apparently if you are ChatGPT Mr. Darcy. Okay, so here are some of my favorite prompts that Mr. Darcy responded to. So she would send a message, something like, if a date goes well, I'll kiss him. Nothing more. My friends say 3 dates is the classy minimum before you sleep together. But I personally felt a month of dating was the sweet spot before having sex, if we even got that far. And Mr. Darcy responded to that and said, to offer physical affection so freely, to allow a man that, I need to change my voice. I feel like when I'm reading Mr. Darcy, we need some piano music and I'll read it a little bit slowly. I was going to have you read it because I thought that'd be funny.
What? I was about to say you should go British.
Well,
you were testing out that British accent before the show started.
I was.
No one knows that.
It's bad. And that's why I'm not.
If the date goes well, I'll kiss him. Come on. You got this.
I need to just give my old English. I have Keira Knightley in my head, just, Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Darcy.
To offer physical affection so freely, to allow a man that familiarity of your person before he has proven his character, his intentions, his name. I do not understand how such behavior can lead to anything but attachment without assurance. Such a good line. That line, man, I was like, it was already mic dropping. You risk much and he risks nothing. A lady's regard is not a prize for persistence, nor a test of compatibility. It is bestowed only when a man has made his purpose known and honorable. Oof. I think there is something to be said about hearing it through the lens of how Darcy would be saying this. It's said in such a beautiful way that it's not intended to shame. It's intended to reveal a truth in a different way. It's just a simple, well, of course this is how it is. He's not questioning it. He's not unsure. He's just like, yeah, that's how this is. I think that was what the author was saying was so striking, and that's kind of what I thought too. And also just, again, said in an eloquent way. Another prompt, she was talking about how she slept with a really hot guy on the third date. He told me he wasn't looking for anything serious, but would love to see me again. Then he only texted her in the evenings, and then she asked him to go to the park, and he ghosted her. So Mr. Darcy responded to that and said, he ought to have married you swiftly, a man who seduces a woman and offers her nothing in return, but his departure is beneath contempt. But you gave yourself to him so freely, without name, without title, without any assurance of honor. Such a thing would render a woman ruined, which again, in that society, would have. Not only in society, but in her own soul. And the man, he is not a suitor. He is a scoundrel. He is another Mr. Wickham. I see no excuse for him and no reason to speak well of him. You have placed yourself in the hands of one who never intended to keep you. Oof. Again, these lines, if you just, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I cannot say what judgment that reflects on your choices, but I can say this. You must do better. You must expect better, or this will not be the last of such men. Mr. Darcy's just going right for Oh gosh. I have nothing to say besides he's just kind of calling out these things. It's like
There's something to be said about the fact that these are opinions that you'll hear a lot of conservative women say, but is there something to be said about, I know it's not a person, but that it's a guy saying this?
It's a guy whom we already love. Mr. Fake Darcy, for some reason, has tapped into another dimension. But yeah, I do think that's an important note. That it's a guy not being rude, but just being honest and trying to be helpful because she asked for it. It's also funny because she was offended at first. Again, it was pretty stern, but it was important dating advice to hear. Just like this important health advice I have for you all. Because let me tell you about something that doesn't get enough attention, your liver. If you're looking for a natural way to promote and maintain your liver health, I found a clinically supported, potent, and effective solution to share with you all. Dose isn't just another generic weak supplement. It is a hard-hitting, science-backed support for your body's most crucial filter. And the results speak for themselves. Clinical trials showed over 86% of people got major improvements in their liver enzyme levels. Just one shot of Dose packs the same punch as 17 shots of turmeric juice. It's designed for peak performance, supporting energy levels, digestion, and overall liver function. No BS ingredients either. It's clean, sugar-free, and engineered to deliver results. So start giving your liver the support it deserves. You can save 30% off for your first month of subscription by going to dosedaily.co/Conrad or entering Conrad at checkout. That is dosedaily.co/Conrad for 30% off your first subscription. So get some Dose to take care of your health and listen to ChatGPT Mr. Darcy to get some healthy dating advice. So she posted another prompt and said, I found out a guy I liked was Republican. I was uncomfortable when I realized he probably voted for Trump. And Mr. Darcy responded to that and said, politics? That is not a subject to be placed above character. Men vote, they debate, they concern themselves with the affairs of government. But a gentleman's worth is not determined by his alignment with this party or that. It is known by his conduct, his honor, and his manner of treating others. I wish that mentality remained. Not just in dating, but in society. That we don't have to hate the other part. If they're a good person, then you look to that first. And then you can have conversations about politics. Maybe that's how it used to be. Maybe that's why Mr. Darcy is saying it like that. Politics sometimes were even taboo to be discussed in general because there were other things about life that people were talking about instead of politics.
You open your phone every single morning, boom, you're hit with it.
Yeah.
The moment you wake up. I don't imagine that was the case here unless they're being handed a newspaper and looking at that right away.
And that's even why I think Mr. Darcy says something like, look at his character, look at his conduct, because that's what people were seeing. They were probably later on, or maybe never even learning about someone's political persuasion or whatever, because that wasn't at the forefront of discussions, especially around dating and stuff, because they were kind of a separate, women were not in those discussions. You wouldn't really care what he thinks because you care who he is. Obviously, it's different now because we vote, and I'm glad that women have rights. That's a huge difference from this society versus ours. But there are also huge takeaways that this mentality we can actually get something from. This fake Mr. Darcy. If you found him agreeable before you learn of his political views, then the fault lies not in him, but in you. Prejudice disguised as principle is still prejudice. That was an interesting line. He ought not to judge your character by the elegance of your dance or your precision of the pianoforte, and you ought not to judge his by the box he ticked at an election. Food for thought. At least it's food for thought. Now, there were so many of these back and forth. Again, I would recommend going reading this article because every time, I wanted to save all of them. They were all so interesting and I got something from all of them. But eventually, she kind of just asked Mr. Darcy to give her an overview. Finally, knowing all that you know, what is your overall advice, your feedback to give me? And this is what he said. You have asked for counsel, and I shall offer it without ornament. I trust you will not mistake frankness for unkindness, nor reserve for indifference. Warning, ladies, this is a bit brutal, but again, I think it's worth at least reading. He said, you are 6 and 20. That is not an advanced age, but neither is it early. If you desire a home, a family, a husband of standing and honor, then you must not behave as though such things will arrange themselves in due time. They will not. We won't just sit on our butts and hope that someone comes. That's not how that works. So I am glad that he's just kind of calling that out because I do think that that's a very easy thing to think like, oh, it'll happen when it happens. Maybe, but also don't just expect that. Just in general, that's just general dating advice. You have to actually act. He goes on to say, you speak readily of your ambition, your work, your ability to provide. These I do not condemn. They may be fruits of necessity or the habits of excellence, but they are not in themselves those qualities which attract a man of principle and substance. A man capable of building a household does not seek a rival within it. He seeks instead a woman whose presence offers repose. A woman whose strength lies in not opposition, but in constancy, which I love that. I mean, it goes back to that idea that strength does not have to be displayed in this brute, ready to defend, ready to just be opposed to everything, fighting all the time. Rather, it's the quiet strength of women that is sometimes most admirable. Again, he's calling out all these things that we know on like a biological level, we sort of know. You may be clever, you may possess wit and distinction of mind, but if you conduct yourself in such a manner as to suggest that you are invulnerable, unneeding, self-sufficient in all respects, then do not be surprised when men of merit withhold their pursuit. A gentleman does not chase where he is plainly unwelcome, he invests where he perceives value and welcome combined.
Pretty accurate.
Yeah. Confirmed by a dude here? Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense. If you're like, I don't need no man, then you're not going to get a man. It makes so much sense. Again, like none of this is like, I mean, it's tough to hear some of this stuff, but also I don't think he's inherently wrong about really any of this. If you don't need no man, they won't need you. You claim to desire a man who leads, who is unmoved by your success, who is strong. Then you must permit him to be those things. Like all these lines is like, ooh. Accept the carriage or the Uber. Speak gently when he offers protection. These gestures are not attempts at dominance. They are the language of affection and duty. Again, I was just, I was in awe of fake Mr. Darcy because it was successfully verbalizing these things in ways that I do think that some people on the right failed to do well. It's just so eloquent and kind, stern, but kind, that it kind of makes you go, oh, yeah, maybe when he, tries to protect me or walk on the one side of the street to make sure, maybe it's not because he's asserting his masculinity, it's because he's protecting. It's a feeling of duty to protect, to serve.
It's a proper gentleman.
A proper gentleman. It's a good lesson in not diminishing his masculinity, but encouraging it. Allowing yourself to be feminine. I mean, those are all good things. There's a reason why it all kind of works. And then he goes on to talk again about physical intimacy and says, I shall speak plainly, which, warning, he does. A woman does not offer her body to a man who has not offered her his name. To do so is to mistake indulgence for affection and appetite for love. You are not made for use. You are made for covenant. If you treat what is sacred as common, do not feign surprise when it is treated as such.
Boom, roasted.
Boom. But yeah, that was just oof. Oof, but also spot the lie. To say that you are made for covenant. Again, that's also a biblical truth. Like your body is a temple. As the literal Bible says, and you treat it as such, respect it as such. But if you say that nowadays, it's like, I guess I'll just let Mr. Darcy speak because it's brutal, but it's worth hearing. It is funny because the plot of this movie is the one thing that current Hollywood, in a lot of ways, is trying to remove from movies. I mean, even Snow White, the main love plot, they tried to stomp it down and kind of just push it to the side, even though inherently we love that. We want that. We love Pride and Prejudice for that reason. But for whatever reason, they're trying, girl, but I don't need no man. No, you don't need one, but it's not bad to want one and love one and find one. Is it women wanting to remove that? Or is it society and Hollywood saying that that needs to be removed? And then you have the actresses like Rachel going on being like, yeah, we can just cut his part for the movie. We don't need no man. Who is at fault for that shift? Feminism as a whole that has just now played out to this? I don't know. But it is curious because then you see that those theaters are empty. And then a theater of a 20-year-old movie specifically about falling in love. That's it. Girl has nothing else going for her but being the second in line sister and needing to find a man. And we love the movie. Why? If it's so bad to just simply fall in love or desire a man, then why do we love Pride and Prejudice? So there's lots of reasons, but there's much more in that article, but there are a few other notes that I just wanted to kind of takeaways that I wanted to share with you. Number one, she talked about not wearing a dress to a date where a guy had recommended, hey, you should probably wear a dress to this. She took offense to it. She was like, oh, what do you mean? You can't tell me what to wear. So she shows up in pants. And then it was a super fancy restaurant in which she looked very underdressed. And the guy was like, well, I give you a heads up. So Mr. Darcy calls it out and says, wearing a dress is not a sign of submission, but of dignity and respect. Again, completely flipping that on her head. She thought, oh, well, he's doing this because he's trying to control me. And Mr. Darcy says, no, it was to give you respect because this is what... It's so funny. It's a feminist versus ChatGPT Darcy is the most entertaining thing I have ever read. I even found this kind of ironic given the fact that we just did a recent episode about more women moving to wear dresses to even places like the club and then being well received by men because they're dressing a bit more respectable and then they're kind of getting more respect from men. It's an interesting thought. Mr. Darcy then kind of closed out his thoughts about love and romance by saying that love doesn't threaten your freedom. With the right partner, it completes it. And I thought that was a very, again, poetic takeaway from this freaking robo Mr. Darcy. Now, for the author of this piece, she ultimately concluded that she does not, or simply can't, specifically is what she said, agree with him. Although she did say that there was something about the way he said these things, and frankly, even what he said, with a level of frankness, like it was an obvious truth that he was just articulating to her that made her speechless. She ended up writing this entire article because she couldn't quite shake what he said. I, on the other hand, can and do agree with a lot of what Robo Darcy was saying. In fact, it was a lot of realities that women on the right have been trying to convey to other women forever. Just about all of those paragraphs, or again, those lines from Robot Mr. Darcy, are really rooted in age-old traditions and beliefs, many of which, almost I think all of them, have very evident biblical roots to them. So why does it take a Mr. Darcy for the feminists to receive this without complete vitriol and anger? Because they trust him, because they see that he actually is good?
I think it's both things. I think it's that, and I think it's because the way he's saying this is so flowery and like just kind and saying this is good for you, not good for men, not good for anything else, but this is the way you should do this because it's a good way for you to live.
For you, It's a man saying things that like a man wouldn't inherently want. In a sense, like not sleeping with someone. That coming from a man hearing that's like, well, of course they want to. But he's speaking for the betterment and what is in the best interest of you as the woman. That is interesting. Maybe we need more Mr. Darcy's sharing these thoughts to get women to kind of open up to this idea. There is one thing that we can take away from ChatGPT Darcy and really from society as a whole is that there is a way to demand more of dating, of yourself, and of your future partner, and then actually successfully find one. Someone that is worth pursuing, worth waiting for, worth trading in certain freedoms of singleness to find completion and safety that is found in a covenant. I feel confident in saying that because I have been blessed to find one, but I also know many people in my life, many men in my life, who re-emphasize my belief that this exists out there, that it still can. They're out there. Have faith. I know any single girl hearing this is like, Reagan, shut up. Trust me. Have faith. But seriously, first, you must hold yourself to the same principles that you hope to find in a partner. As ChatGPT Darcy once said, you must expect better, and then you must do better. If you want to be respected, you have to first respect yourself. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. If you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video if you enjoyed it. And last but not least, if you want more content, you can also follow me on my personal accounts, as well as our new comment section Instagram. See you guys in the comments.